Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host, Ashwin. I'm joined by Varun. Varun, it's been a while since it's just been, I think, the two of you. DJ's moving houses, I believe, this week. So how are you doing? It's been a big week. It's lots to talk about, but we're not going to start with cricket. There's other sporting action going on, right?
Yeah, it was so good, man. Like, I think, firstly, living in Singapore, usually World Cup finals are like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. my time. So I'm
Yeah.
always half asleep while watching it. But I have to say that this, to me, is probably one of the best World Cup finals I've seen. And because cricket takes up so much of our mental space, this is probably one of the best games I've seen, right? I don't have that kind of time to watch football, but it was amazing. What an advertisement for the game if that's what every World Cup final is going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely exceptional. So I'm in Delhi now too, so I got to watch it late night. Just outstanding, just an incredible match. I mean, I think if you think about, we're not going to talk about it. We don't deep dive into football matches and stuff, but 70 minutes out of 90 was so one-sided, just so one-sided. And then
Yeah.
and then it
In
just
fact, I
went
read
the next. Yeah,
I read something that said the French work only 35 hours a week and play 5 minutes
that's
out of
perfect. That's
90,
a great response.
and they still make an impact. But sorry, but you were saying, yeah, they just didn't show up, right? For
They didn't. I think
75
for at least
minutes.
65, 70 minutes, they had no shots on goal. No shots. And then
I
from two
didn't even
zero,
see their strikers.
yeah, it was unbelievable. Then from 2-0, a penalty, which felt a little stupid. And then within 2 minutes, Mbappe scored an absolutely magnificent goal. And then to go to 2-all. And then with Leo Messi scoring at 3-2, again, Argentina started celebrating. Again, they could see the finish line. And again, another penalty and a handball. So absolutely outstanding. Varun, for a cricket podcast, I couldn't help yesterday but feel like Leo Messi 2022 was too much like Sachin Tendulkar 2011. And I don't know if you felt that too, but this guy at the pinnacle of his game, basically everybody knows, whether officially or not, that it's going to be the last time that he plays in his country's colors at a World Cup at least. And has basically accomplished everything else you can think of. Everything else. All the other records, all the other accolades, all the individual awards, but not the World Cup. Right? Like was that how great was that moment for you? Did it take you back to 2011?
Yeah, it did. Everyone was kind of talking about that as well. That it just reminds you of that Sachin thing. And remember, like sports people are kind of defined by the trophies they win, and yet they aren't, right? Because they do so many great things across a 15-year career. And it was so funny because you said, remember Sachin with Messi, and then equally, I don't know if you saw this, but Kohli posted about Cristiano Ronaldo
Mm-hmm.
and how trophies are not the only thing in the world that matter, that he's the true goat. And I mean, from a personality perspective, from the fact that they haven't won a trophy for their country as captain, it's just too many similarities. But yes, Messi gives you that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling, and everyone loves the guy, and so yeah, it's great. It's great. Like we were all rooting for Messi, right? More than we were rooting for Argentina. So it kind of felt like that. And I was just wondering if Di Maria, one of the other guys, will pick him up on his shoulders and say he's carried the burden of the nation for like 20 years. And yeah, it was really fun. And I think also, that whole comparison with Maradona, I've been seeing on Instagram and Twitter. There's so many pictures, and what you can do digitally now. There are pictures showing Maradona and Messi hugging and stuff. Like it's fantastic. It's great. I mean, I can't even imagine what fans in Argentina must be going through.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. And if you haven't seen it, the clips are of Sergio Aguero, who former Manchester City player, who's actually the same age. I think he's 34, but had to retire last year because of injury stuff. Very, very close friends with Messi. Wasn't obviously in the squad, but came on the pitch and then had him on his shoulders. It was just an exceptional moment. So nice to see. Congratulations to Argentina and Argentina fans everywhere. Congratulations to Messi fans everywhere. It's not the last I think we'll see of him, but just absolutely incredible scenes to pick up. My favorite kind of cricket-related incident for the World Cup last night was somebody on Twitter, and I'm not giving them credit because I don't remember who, said, it seems like sacrilegious almost to have Ravi Shastri in the stadium. He was at the finals. and not give out the trophy. Can you imagine, Varun, if Shastri was the guy doing the trophy presentations for some reason? That would have been incredible.
Yeah, or commentating in the penalty shootout, right?
And during the shootout,
and
he would have been
Mbappe
insane.
did hit it like a tracer bullet. So all three times. So I'm pretty sure Ravi would have done that. But yeah, but just talking about it, right? Like the cricketing analogy, and I think Ashwin, we should put out that tweet where we ask about what France's comeback was like, right, um, against the run of the wind. What cricketing analogy do we have for that? Like DJ already said, it's like Bumrah and Shami at Lords.
Yeah.
We should think about what our listeners have to say about that. And in terms of World Cup finals, it did feel like the England-New Zealand match, right? Where it went down to the wire. It had to be decided on a super over, and even there it was so close. So yeah, one of the best finals. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anybody watching on YouTube, leave us a comment, or if you're live, leave us a comment now on what you think the cricketing equivalent was. For me, I mean, just going back to the 2011 World Cup, Kylian Mbappe scoring a hat-trick in a losing cause was obviously Mahela making that magnificent century, but in a losing cause. And arguably Angel Di Maria scoring the goal was Gautam Gambhir, right? Who kind of gets overshadowed in the Sachin magic, but if not for his 97 in that, and of course the Dhoni and the Yuvraj magic, but 97 from Gambhir. So, right, Edges and Studies Cricket Podcast. We should talk a little bit about cricket. Varun, there's been 3 test matches going on, and it's been great for me. I have time now right now this week, and I'm in India, so the time zones work great. I've been watching India, Bangladesh, of course, England, Pakistan, which is still going at the time of recording this, and Australia, South Africa. So we're going to spend the second half of the show talking a little bit about India, Bangladesh, and a good result that Team India got. Let's start by talking about the game at the Gabba. So my first fun fact about the Gabba, and I'm not going to talk about this test yet, is in Australia, if the last 27 matches they've played at the Gabba, they've been undefeated in 26 of them. I think 18 were wins, 7 or 8 were draws, 1 loss. I mean, how incredible is it for India to be the only team? And then layering on top of that, I think in the last 6 years, Australia have only lost 4 tests at home across all home grounds. 6 years, 4 tests at home. All 4 of them were to India. So, I mean, this is not what we came here to talk about. We came to talk about Australia, South Africa. But you can't talk about the Gabba without thinking of Team India, can you?
Yeah, you can't. And we've discussed it. It's one of our most popular episodes as well. I'm just glad that I didn't have to hear anything about the Fortress Gabba leading up to this test, because I think we kind of shut that down in some sense the last time, right? Even between Ashwin and Payne, the whole chat was just come to the Gabba, we'll see you there. And of course, Ashwin had replied saying, "We'll end your career when you come to India." Tim Payne didn't
and
make
it sort
it
of
to
happened.
India.
He didn't make it.
Yeah, he didn't make it to India. But yeah, I think I'm glad that there's no more chat about Fortress Gabba. But let's also give a lot of credit, man. An Australia Test series, the first game is always great fun to watch. It's, you know, the bowlers are going to dominate. You know that it's going to be like Australia coming at you hard. The visiting team, I don't know if there's a stat, but I'm pretty sure the visiting team loses the first test in Australia like 90% of the time. It's just the way Australian Test cricket is. But you know, the grounds were full. South Africa, I think they were without Peterson, and I missed that guy because he was so good against us and did so much damage. But South Africa and Australia, both top 2 in the World Test Championship, both looking to win to cement that place to go to the finals next year in England. And South Africa came out 152 all out. No surprise, the bowler who does very well at the start of any Australia series, Mitchell Starc, bowled fantastic. Only, I think, 2 or 3 guys got into double figures. And apart from that, nothing to write home about. So it was like a Pacers paradise with Starc, Cummins, and Boland. Nathan Lyon picked up 3. And Ashwin, maybe we should just pause here and talk about that pitch, right? Because I don't know if you saw an image of the pitch, but it was so green that I couldn't even tell the difference between what was the pitch and what was the
I
grass.
saw a picture of the field and I couldn't tell where the pitch was and where it was. I mean, it was just completely covered with grass, right? And so So as you look at it, you say, okay, the South African batsmen didn't last super long. They made 48. They played out 48 overs, made 152. The Aussies then played another 50 overs before getting out. Then the South Africans crumbled in that second innings, getting out for 99 in 37.4. And the Aussies won, chasing only 35 runs. They still lost 4 wickets in pursuit, right? Like Mitchell Starc was padded up when the target was 35. So to your question, is it acceptable that a pitch is created such, whether it's for pacers or spinners, that a game is done in 2 days? I mean, you sit there and say, yeah, they didn't bat great. The South Africans didn't bat great, but then the Aussies also didn't bat particularly. They also lost 14 wickets. I mean, to lose 34 wickets and have the completion of a 5-day test match in 2 days, that just seems unacceptable.
Yeah, and that too without Akshar Patel.
Without Akshar Patel in Ahmedabad,
So,
right? I mean,
to finish this match in 2 days and take 34 wickets, and Akshar Patel doesn't even feature in the 11. That is not acceptable. But jokes apart, it's not great for the game. Let me put it that way, right? I don't think any of us want to watch a 2-day test, but at the same time, what's your view on the hypocrisy, right? Sehwag and Wasim Jafar and everyone else has come out and said, why did India get the criticism of the pitches when the match finished in 2 days in Ahmedabad? And why did nobody talk about the pitch in the Australia-South Africa game?
Yeah, I mean, that is my fundamental frustration, as to your point, right? It's hypocrisy, whether it's a double standard because the Western world versus the South Asian world, whether it's this double standard because of pace versus spin, whatever it is. But you've created such a seaming wicket that didn't last 2 days, and everybody's saying fast bowler in paradise. This is what Test cricket is all about. It's supposed to seam, it's supposed to bounce, make it hard on the batsman. Almost a mirror image, by the way, of Ahmedabad, right? England bats first, makes 112. India bats first, makes 145, gets all out, with Jack Leach taking 4, Joe Root taking 5, right? Root took 5 wickets. England bats second, gets 81, and India finishes off with 49. So very, very similar parallels. 2 days. This was just a year and a half ago, and a completely different message track in the media. So I'm not saying I think 2-day test matches are good. Let the record state that. I'm saying, to your point, we need to have the same standard. We need to have an equivalent kind of approach on how we look at a 2-day test match, because it's good for the seamers, and a 2-day test match is good for the spinners. It's just different conditions, play to your strengths, etc. I think it's ridiculous. So I hope we don't have a lot more 2-day test matches. I will say that some of the Fox Australia broadcasters had what seemed unhappy with the pitch. I almost felt like they had to, because they realized this question would come, and they lost 3 days of advertising revenue, right? 5-day test match, you plan maybe 4. So anyway, any final thoughts on that before we pivot to this?
No, just quickly two call outs, right? One is for Rabada. I think he bowled amazing. He picked up 4 wickets in the first innings and 4 in the second. And
he was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable. I'm like, Warner and all had no idea what to do. First ball duck for Warner in the first innings. And yeah, I mean, special call out to Rabada. He was fantastic. It's great to see Nokia back in bowling. Jansen is also there. Like, I think basically the message to the viewers is the next couple of tests is going to be fun. So keep a lookout for that. And the other call out for me is Travis Head. He came in when Australia were in a pretty bad shape, right? They were 27 for 3, I think. And that's when Travis Head came in. And we have spoken about this before on this show. In 2018, India versus South Africa, the man who made a difference why South Africa won the test series 4 years ago was AB de Villiers, because he realized, I need to go to run a ball. I need to get this very quickly. If I hang around on this pitch, I'm going to get out. And Travis Head did that, 92 of 96, basically the only batsman who hit a 50 in this entire match. And that was the difference between the two teams. Can't help but think if Australia was given even 120 to make on that on day 2, last innings, you never know, man. Mitchell Starc might have come out and had to hit the winning runs for them. So, yeah, great.
Yeah, agreed. And just Travis Head was definitely a game changer. A little bit of baseball happening in the other part of in another part of the world, and that's what Travis Head felt like he bought, batting at a run a ball. But Varun, before we wrap this and take a quick break, David Warner, right? There's been a lot, right? The last time these two teams faced off was Sandpaper Gate. Yeah, they faced off in Australia, I think, was Sandpaper Gate. David Warner has since been in the media about wanting to have his lifetime ban on leadership roles overturned. There was a whole thing, and then it became politicized in public and all that. But now I sit here and look. David Warner's career average in Test cricket is 45. Very, very strong. From 2011 through to 2017, it was 41, 54, 63, 39, 49, etc. Then he had a year in 2018 with 39. 2019 was 48. 2020 didn't really play because of COVID. 2021, 38. 2022, 10 test matches, 19 innings, average of 20.6. And so Ricky Ponting is now just this morning, I think, come out and said like he needs to leave the game on his own terms. It'll be sad if he keeps trying to play and gets dropped, etc. So where are you at on David Warner? He just was not good enough. He's 36 years old. What's the future? What does the future have in store for him?
Yeah, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't David Warner himself say that Test is going to be the first format that he would leave? I can't.
Maybe this is where we need DJ to remember this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to check as we're talking, but I think he's had a stellar career. He's one of those guys who never expected that Test cricket would be his best format, and it has been hard, man. Between Stuart Broad and Rabada getting him off 0 off 1 ball a few times now, it's not been easy. I do think the recent leadership ban not scandal, but saga that you were talking about, where he would have to go through a full inquiry and his whole family would have to go through a lot. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him go beyond next June, right? Because I think Australia will pretty much make that World Test Championship. It'll be a great way to bow out for him, whether or not they win it. And he can then focus on franchise and T20 cricket. That's just my view. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we wish him well. He's been a good steward of the game. There's a lot of calls in from Australia for him to retire, at least from Test cricket. So remains to be seen how it goes. Congratulations to Australia for winning. Disappointing with the result of the pitch. Unfortunately, 2 days just not good enough. Or if it is good enough, then it was good enough in Ahmedabad too. That's the last I'll say of it. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back to talk about India versus Bangladesh. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Edges and Slides Cricket podcast. I'm your host, Ashwin. I'm joined by Varun this week. Varun, let's come back to what we know and talk about best, I think, India cricket. So, but DJ and I actually predicted last week's show before the test started that India would sweep the series 2-0. Now, we tend to be a little wishful with our predictions because some of it is we don't want to be those guys that predict losing or tying or draw a test match. But so far, so good for Team India, right? 1-0, finished the match in style, winning by 188 runs. You made the joke about the Akshar Patel show. This was the Kuldeep Yadav show. So before I ask you to run me through kind of the match summary, selection was pretty well in line what we expected, right? We predicted Rahul and Shubman at the top, Pujara at 3, Kohli 4, Pant 5, Shreyas 6. That was pretty clear. Akshar, Ashwin was pretty clear. I think Umesh and Siraj as your 2 quicks, and then Kuldeep slotting in as that 5th bowler because they went with 3 spinners. Any thoughts on that and versus some of the other the quicks that we could have gone with in the squad?
No, it's not so much that. I think it's more that it takes time for the mind to readjust back to what Test cricket in subcontinent looks like. I think all of us follow it so much overseas that on the first morning when the team selection was announced, I was in shock. I was looking for pacers. I was like, where is that 3rd pacer? How is this going to work? I mean, we've gone in with 4 pacers. Yeah, many times. And I'm pretty sure there were considerations to play Shardul as a 5th, in fact, in England.
Shardul's a spinner. Shardul's a slow
medium, very slow.
Friendly medium.
Friendly medium. But so it took time. Now, in hindsight, India has won the match. And so, yes, right decision. But it takes us time to remember that you have to go in with only 2 pacers, and they're basically going to bowl in between the spinners, right? With the new ball, and then to give rest, and maybe if it's reverse swinging. So, yes, right team. I thought that maybe Thakur might get a game because of that all-round ability that India sees. I was honestly looking forward to Jaydev Unadkat, right? Because he's done well. He put out that tweet a year or 2 ago saying, "Red ball, give me one more chance." And I was hoping he plays. Let's see, maybe in the second test it'll be great for him. But overall, I think yes, right team selection.
Yeah, and you can't argue with the results Kuldeep delivered, right? So the question is Umesh, Siraj, and then the roles Akshar and Ashwin played. And Ashwin had to had to step in big with the bat, right? So India's first innings, we made 404, no centurions. So it's not often you get to 400 with no centurions. But a couple quick shout outs to Pujara, who made 90, just back on the scene, regained his number 3 slot, and of course when we talk second innings, you'll see why he showed up in style. Rishabh showed up with a little bit of baseball, Travis head, whatever we want to call it, batted at a run of ball, looked really good. And so it was disappointing for him to get out when he did. And then Shreyas at 6 made an 86, outstanding. But the lower order has been the difference for India in the last couple of years. And usually we used to have, I don't know, 4 number 11s. And here you have Ashwin making a 50, made 58, and Kuldeep accompanying him with 40 runs that pushed us to 404. So, Varun, good first innings. You take 404 at the start of the match, right?
Yeah, you take 404 at the start of the match. You also take 404 when you're 48 for 3 and you've lost Kohli, Gill, and Rahul. So, great comeback. I think just to quickly add on what you're saying, Pant's disappointing because he looked set for a big one. And credit to Shreyas, man. He just comes in and saves. So, it feels very clear that Shreyas has like got that ability to take the singles, and ODI and Test is really his niche, right? It just he's carving that out. He's making this number 5 slot or number 6 slot his own, and he's done very well. So yes, man. And about Ashwin and Kuldeep, you're right. They played almost 230 balls between them. That is crazy, right? When you think about it. So again, when you know now in Test cricket, time is you're not battling against time about 80% of the time. You can play those 230 balls. So 404 absolutely would take that.
Right. And so do you want to just walk us through a little bit about the bowling then? Bangladesh ended up getting out for 150, including a peach from Siraj on the first ball. But after picking 3 spinners and watching the Bangladeshi spinners do better than their quicks, you would have thought this is spin. And yet the first 4 wickets, the top order, was cleaned up thanks to a magnificent spell by Siraj and Umesh. So you want to walk us through the Bangladesh innings really quick?
Yeah, like we said, I think even Dinesh Karthik said this, right, recently, that Siraj's ability to get wickets on a flat track is something that sets him apart. And I kind of agree. I don't rate him all that highly, but it's also look at his peer set, right, in the Indian fast bowling lineup. So I think credit to him that he's getting these wickets. I think the fast bowlers did their job. Their job is to come in with the new ball, pick up 2 to 3 quick wickets. They picked up 4, and then leave it for the spinners to manage. Now, again, Kuldeep was fantastic, man. I was watching highlights of his 5 wickets, and it was great. It felt like 5 years ago when Kuldeep was at his best versus Australia. So very happy for him. I don't know. Kuldeep seems to just come in and out of the team. Maybe the Delhi Capitals biases us, so you've seen him play a little bit more recently. But whenever he's played, he's put his heart into it. There's been the passion, and I think he's got the results to deliver. So very happy for him. But Bangladesh could only make 150. And so then it came down to, will India enforce a follow-on? Will India go on to bat? And I think India did the right thing. India went into bat because you don't want to be kind of, whatever happens. Suppose Bangladesh did really well in that third innings if they followed on. You don't want to be under any pressure on, let's say, a turning wicket. And so they came in. This time, Shubman Gill hit 110. Fantastic. I think his maiden century in Tests, and he would look determined to get there. And Pujara knew the declaration was on his head. So Pujara actually hit 102 of 130. And Ashwin, you were watching this and you said he hit back-to-back sixes. Is that right?
It was incredible. I don't know if it was back to back or it was back to. It was definitely a couple of boundaries, but he hit 3 boundaries back like in quick succession, and it was just unlike Pujara. And obviously, he realized, listen, we're going to bat only as much as needed. We're gonna. He had the opportunity to try to get to that 3 figures after I think a few years again for him to like Kohli. So nice to see. And yeah, Pujara was uncharacteristic. I mean, Pujara batting making a century of 130 balls is the last thing you'd expect to see, but good for him. So then, right, put on a big enough total on the board. I think they needed 500 and whatever it was, 550 odd, 520 odd, and which should be enough. And Bangladesh gets to 124 for 1 or 124 before they lose their first wicket. Were you nervous at any point there when you see like 500 on the board and 124 without losing a wicket? Before, of course, now we know the collapse happened. But were you nervous? I definitely was.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous because I was like, where is this going, right? Why is nobody looking like they can take a wicket? And 500 is always going to be enough, I feel. But had they pushed to like 200 plus for zero, I think I would have got very nervous. 120 odd, I still was like, yeah, it's about one session now, right? It's about just coming in. But I think Bangladesh played well. And it comes back to my point as to why KL Rahul did the right thing by batting, is because if they had ended up making 400 plus and given us 200 plus to chase on the in the last innings, I think it might have been a bit tough. So, but credit to them, man. They did really, really well.
Yeah, agreed. And so not a lot else to write about home about. Like I think good batting. 324 was good, but 4 for Akshar, 3 for Kuldeep. I mean Kuldeep for his 40 runs and the 8 wickets in the match ended up as man of the match. Varun, before we wrap up, kind of talking about this, any changes you would make for Team India going into the second test? And I think you and I will be together for the second test, so we'll get to watch
Yeah.
some of it live together. But any changes you make, or do you just power through and try to get that second, and then know you go into the Australia series? I think needing 3 wins out of 4 to qualify for the WTC final.
Yeah. So, firstly, focus is just winning, right? Because South Africa have not started off well. India is now, as of this moment on 19th December, are number 2 on that World Test Championship table. So getting into that top 2 is priority. I think there's a lot of talk about Rohit Sharma and what if he's fit. And it's very funny because Ajit Jadeja in some show just said Rohit Sharma should just sit at home. Don't change this lineup now. So Rohit Sharma is one factor. If he's fit and ready to come back, who do you drop? Pujara and Gill both hit centuries. I think you should drop Rahul, our captain. But the second is Jaydev. Jaydev is just a personal thing. I would love to see him play. I think a left arm bowler who's doing well right now, maybe in place of Umesh. But to be honest, I don't see it happening. Though that's just where it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think they stick. I think it's just crazy to think this is. I mean, we've been doing this show for several years now, but I remember Rahane, we wanted to drop, but he had a vice captaincy. Then Pujara, we wanted to drop, had vice captaincy. Now you're thinking Rahul as a skipper, we want to drop. I mean, it is crazy, but you look at that lineup and you say you're not dropping Gill, Pujara, Kohli, Pant, or Iyer based on their performances, right? The one you dropped, Rahul made 22 of 54 and 23 of 62, just didn't get going. But that is a discussion for another day because I don't think KL Rahul is going anywhere anytime soon. Right. I think that covers about it. I think, Varun, a lot of other cricket going on. I will say congratulations to the Australia women who, in their tour of India, have just wrapped up the win after being 1-all. They won the third and the fourth ODIs pretty comprehensively. So disappointing. I mean, the third more comprehensively. The fourth was very close. India almost got there, but fell short. So we'll want to salvage some pride in the fifth. And similarly, on salvaging pride, Pakistan is trying to win at least one test in their home series against England after going down 0-2. They're in an interesting position now as you go into the final couple of days of this test match. That brings us to a wrap. Varun, as we come to the end of the year, Football World Cup is done, and all that hype is wrapping up. We got one more test for Team India to play. It's going to be an exciting one. I think as we, the holiday season is always good. You usually see some good test cricket. I'm excited to watch the India, Bangladesh, and Australia, South Africa. Like you said, looks good. And hopefully bigger and brighter things for India to look forward to in 2023 with the home season. With that, we're going to wrap up the Edison Studies Cricket podcast for this week. Thank you for joining us. As always, at One Tip One Hand on all the different social media. And we love hearing from you. Leave us a like and a subscribe if we are on YouTube. And we will be back next week. Thank you very much, everybody.